So, hello, this is Tatiana speaking. We are online and welcome to our webinar about company registration in Russia. So, I welcome everybody and please put in the chat plus if you can hear me well. Okay, and we are waiting for a couple of minutes and we are about to start. So, okay. So let me introduce myself. My name is Tatiana Shkoropeta, and I'm CEO and founder of Outsourcing Solutions company. And here is my colleague, Ivan Masley, who is the head of corporate legal. So we will tell you about how to open company in Russia. And you can see our short plan. So we will start with details about company registration. Then we will discuss issues about opening bank account in Russia for legal entities and how to choose tax system for your company once you've been registered. As well, shortly we discuss compliance and how to be in compliance with Russian law when you have already registered the company. And briefly, we will tell about migration rules for international clients, for international employees. Okay, so the first part, company registration. Ivan will start this part and I give my words to him. Also, let me remind that we have questions field in this webinar, and if you have any questions which you would like to discuss, you can put these questions, and at the end of our webinar we will answer all your questions. So Ivan, I give you the word, and let me turn off the sound and mute my microphone. Okay, so Ivan, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Tatiana, and hello everyone who joined our webinar. So let's start with the registration of the company in Russia, and first thing which should be resolved by you as some client, some person or some company from another company is to decide which type of legal presence in Russia you choose. And there are actually two the most common types of legal presence in Russia, which are the representative office or branch of foreign company and Russian subsidiary, which can be in form of limited liability company or joint stock company, or maybe non-commercial company, which can be fund or some partnership or something like this. And there is also another one, not very common type of legal presence in Russia, which is economic partnership. It's really not very common, and we're not going to describe this type because representative office or branch office and Russian subsidiary, and the most common of Russian subsidiary is LLC. This is very really frequently used forms of presence in Russia, and that's why we're going to describe these two forms in details. So the next slide, please. Here is the shadow, and we're going to compare these two the most common types of legal presence in Russia, which are Russian subsidiary and subdivision of a foreign company. And the first, which should be described, is a legal status. So limited liability company, and one mention, we here in this comparison, we compare LLC and subdivision. We use LLC because it's the most common type of Russian company, and for example, joint stock companies, the procedure of registration is almost the same, and actually it's just some additional stage for the registration of that company, and its registration with the Central Bank of the Russian Federation, and issuance of the shares, but really one of 100 our clients uses that type of registration. I mean, joint stock companies. That's why we don't describe it in details. But for sure, if you want to register a joint stock company, we will be able to do it as well. And actually, this is for quite big companies which has more than 50 shareholders, but most of our clients have just one, maybe two, but not more than 10 shareholders in their companies. So the legal status. So limited liability company is a Russian legal entity, and it can conduct any form of commercial activity in compliance with the Russian legislation. The founders of the LLC can be foreign companies or foreign individuals, and they can be shareholders of any number of Russian companies. And there is just only one restriction concerning the shareholders. Russian company may be established by a single founder as long as the founder is not a company owned by a single legal entity or individual. It means that if Russian limited liability company is going to be owned by a sole shareholder, which is some another company, that another company, which is shareholder of a Russian company, should be owned by at least two shareholders. It's restriction in Russian legislation. With regards to the subdivision of the foreign company, representative office and branch of a foreign company are not considered as a separate legal entity. This is just a subdivision of the foreign company, and they are considered as Russian non-resident entities for currency control purposes. A representative office is a subdivision of a foreign company that represents the company's interest in Russia, and representative offices usually and officially, according to the law, are not allowed to undertake commercial activity. So They just provide some marketing support, so their function is auxiliary. And with regards to the branch, it's a subdivision of a foreign company which may conduct commercial activity, any activity which conducted by the head office, and any activity which is not restricted by Russian legislation. With regards to the authorized capital, minimum amount of authorized capital for the limited liability company is 10,000 rubles, and with regards to the subdivisions, representative office and branches, there is no authorized capitals for these types, and head office just transfer money for to these subdivisions for conclusion of their activities in Russia. And branch also can earn money from Russian clients. With regards to the procedures of registration and accreditation, registration of both these two types are made by the tax authorities, but there are two different tax inspections which do the registration. For the LLC in Russia, in Moscow, it's interdistrict office number 46, and for the registration of branches or representative offices, it's interdistrict tax office number 47. They are situated in different places, and they have different different goals. After registration of the LLC, the company is automatically registered with the State Committee of Statistics and non-budgetary funds. And with regards to the subdivision of foreign company, it's necessary to do this registration with non-budgetary funds separately after registration with the tax office. And also there is one more additional stage of registration for the rep office and branch. It's certification of the number of foreign employees, which should be just before the submission of the documents to the tax office. It should be certified by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Russia. And for the representative office, number of foreign employees can be not more than 5, and there is no limits for the branches. And also, even if Russian subsidiary, subdivision, representative office or branch doesn't intend to have any foreign employees in its subdivision in Russia, even in that case, it's required to get certification by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Next slide, please. Yeah. So with regards to the terms of registration, registration of limited liability company takes just 3 working days after submission of the documents to the authorities, and it's quite small time. So the totally registration of LLC together with the drafting of all necessary documents, signing of them, sending back to us, translation usually takes about 2 weeks. And with regards to the rep office or branch, the term of registration is 30 working days after the documents submission to the tax authority, and that's why it's quite long time, and it cannot be decreased, so it's necessary to wait for this term, and there is no way to do it faster. Yeah, with regards to the state duties for registration, again, for the LLC, it's much less. It's 4,000 rubles, for the registration of LLC, and it's 120,000 rubles for registration of rep office or branch, plus 18,000 rubles. It's the fee of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry for certification of the number of foreign employees. So actually, it's not state duty, but it's the payment to the state authority, which is obligatory. That's why we put it here. And together, it's 138,000 rubles for registration of subdivision. With regards to the management structure, LLC has a three-tier management structure consisting of general meeting of shareholders, board of directors, and executive body, which is usually a general director. General meeting is the highest management body, and it must meet at least once a year. It's an annual meeting, which should take place in March or from the beginning of March till the end of April. And the board of directors is general supervision body of the company, and the board of directors may not be formed, and in that case, its powers are transferred to the general meeting. So there, in some companies, it's possible that there is just a general meeting and the executive body. And with regards to the executive body, it's usually it's a director, and usually it's just one director, but it's possible to appoint any amount of directors of the company, and they can act together or any director can act by his own will, and also it can be collegial body, and directors doesn't need any power of attorney to be able to represent the company. So their names are put into the Unified State Register of Legal Entities. And with regards to the subdivisions of foreign company, both representative offices and branches, they are managed by the head of rep office or branch, and heads of these subdivisions are appointed to this position by the head office, and they act on the basis of the power of attorney, and also their rights and obligations are written in the regulations of the rep office or regulations of the branch. So with regards to the currency control, it's actually, I suppose, it's going to be described later, but I can just mention that Russian subsidiary, any Russian company, like limited liability company, is a Russian resident for the currency control purposes, and in that case, if some money transferred from foreign company to Russian company, or from Russian company to another companies, it's required to submit a number of documents to the banks. There's some special forms and the contracts and invoices to prove the transactions. And with regards to the subdivision of a foreign company, which is a rep office or branch, these two types of legal presence in Russia are not considered as Russian residents for currency control purposes, and that's why it's not required to submit documents for transactions to the foreign companies or from the foreign companies. But every wire transfer should be in every wire transfer, it should be some special VO code should be written in the wire transfers. It's just some code of service or goods for which the payment is made. It can be, for example, code for the services, some code for the services, some code for the payment for the goods, some code for the payment of taxes, some code for the payment of salary, etc. With regards to the employment regulations, employment regulations is completely applicable for LLC, and contract with managing director is signed by a representative of the shareholder, and actually the same regulations are applicable for the rep offices and branches, and the contract with the head of the rep office signed by the head office. Usually it can be the director of the head office, or it can be some person acting on the basis of the power of attorney who can sign such contract with the director or with the head of the rep office or branch. With regards to the customs, LLC can import and export goods and can be registered at custom office, but rep office or branch can't import or export goods for resale. So they can import goods for own consumption, but not for reselling them to, for example, another Russian clients. Accounting and tax compliance, I suppose Tatiana will say it later, but actually there are no any distinctions between branch and LLC, and there are just some differences in types of reports, but in common the same taxes should be paid at the same rates, so there is no big differences between LLC and subdivision of foreign company. So here is in details information about registration of a limited liability company, and with regards to the registration of LLC. So with regards to the shareholders and share capital, as I already said, the minimal amount of share capital is 10,000 rubles. And there is only one specific restriction regarding the shareholder, which says that a Russian company may have another company as a sole shareholder, but this shareholder must have at least 2 shareholders. And one more thing which should be mentioned here is that application form for the company registration should be signed by each shareholder, and if the shareholder of the company is individual, it should be signed by individual. If the shareholder of the company is another foreign company, for example, it should be signed exactly by director of the company shareholder. It cannot be signed by the person acting on the basis of the power of attorney. And this application form should be notarized by notary public. And this signing and notarization can be made in Russia and notarized in that case by Russian notary public, or in another country, and in that case notarized by any foreign notary public. And in this second option, it's also required to apostille this application or legalize it by a Russian consulate. There are some countries which has some special agreements with Russia, and according to that agreements, apostille or legalization is not required. These countries are like Belarus or Kazakhstan or some even some European countries like Czech Republic, and for those countries apostille or legalization is not required, but so just notarization by official notary public is required for that countries. But for the most companies or countries, it's required to get apostille or legalization by consular. With regards to the managing director of the company, every Russian company should be managed by at least one director. And any person can be appointed to the position of the director of Russian company. I mean, it can be a foreign citizen or Russian citizen, but yeah, please note that if a foreign citizen is going to be appointed to the position of the director, that person should have a work permit. Actually, Russian registration authorities they don't check if that person has work permit or not. And probably it would be possible register company and appoint director without work permit. But in that case, there is a high risk to get it's a violation of Russian migration law. It's high risk to get a fine at amount of 1 million rubles, which about 11,000 euros. So this is a quite big risk, and we don't recommend to do so. And our recommendation for such clients who intend to appoint foreign citizen to the position of the director is that register Russian company with some Russian citizen appointed to the position of the director for several first months, and as soon as the company is registered, apply for work permit for the foreign person. And as soon as this work permit is ready, you can appoint that person to the position of general director and start manage company by him and pay him salary, etc. With regards to the name of the company, there are no special requirements for the name of the company, and I just need to mention that special permission is required to use the words Russia, full words Russia or Russian Federation in the name of the company, and actually it's quite difficult to get such permission, and it's necessary to pay some state duty for use of these words, and we don't recommend our clients to use these full words Russia or Russian Federation in the names of the companies. It's possible to use some abbreviated words like Rus or RU, and that's absolutely enough for the most of our clients. With regards to the legal address, this is also the most frequently asked question to us with regards to the registration of company. So every Russian company should be registered at some address, and it can be address of owned or rented premises. It can be office, shop, warehouse, etc. And if the company doesn't have any premises in Russia and doesn't intend to rent it, it's also possible to use so-called legal address service. Legal address service means that owner of some premise in Russia provides your company right to be registered at address of that premise. It doesn't mean a real rent of the premise. It's just a provision of right to use the address for company registration. and this service also includes postal services, so company will be able to get correspondence sent to the official address of the company. And um, yeah, usually cost of that legal address service is much less than renting of the real small office, just maybe one just table. And anyway, it's cheaper to get the legal address service. With regards to the license requirements, there is actually a list of activities which requires the license in Russia. For example, it's pharmaceutical activity, aerospace, security services, etc. And if the company is going to perform such activity, it's necessary to obtain a license after the registration. So anyway, first of all, the company should be registered, and if the company is going to perform that activity, it's before starting these activities, it's necessary to get the license. And with regards to terms of registration, as I've already said, it's 3 working days after the submission of the documents. Yeah, and we discussed it already. Documents required for the registration of the LLC. I divided the list of documents into 2 paragraphs. One of them is documents are provided by the clients, and another one, the documents which drafted by us and then signed by the client, by the shareholders. So we need copies of passports of managing director of Russian company, copies of passports of shareholders, individuals, and copies of passports of managing directors of shareholders, which are the foreign companies. We need a guarantee letter from the landlord for the legal address. We need it from the client if client intend to rent office in Russia. If client don't want to rent office and prefer to use legal address service, so we will arrange this guarantee letter from the landlord, and we don't require this document from the client. If the foreign company is going to be a shareholder of the Russian company, we will also need an extract from the trade register for that company. And this document depends on the country of registration of the shareholder. Some of countries can provide the extracts from the trade register. Some of them provide documents like certificate about registration. Some of them, it can be certificate about incumbency. And so the extract from the trade register, it's the most common type of the document, but there can be analog documents. And also 3 other documents should be submitted if the foreign company, if the shareholder, if the director of the company shareholder is going to come to Russia to notarize these documents with the Russian Notary Public, it's a certificate about incorporation of that company, articles of association, and a document confirming the appointment of the managing directors of the shareholders, foreign companies. And here is and the next is the documents drafted by us and signed by the client. It's a written application form, resolution to open company, articles of association of the company, of the Russian company, which is going to be registered, and memorandum of association, and power of attorney for us for representation before the state authorities for registration of the company. And please make sure that you understand, and please note that all documents which provided from foreign be notarized and apostilled or legalized by consular. Yeah. In the next slide, we have steps of registration. First of all, we actually collect information from the client, who is going to be a shareholder, who is going to be a director, address, etc., etc. Then we draft all necessary documents for signing by the shareholders. As soon as they are signed, notarized, apostilled, they are delivered to us. We arrange their translation into the Russian language and submit them to the tax office for the registration. Registration, as we already mentioned, takes 3 working days, and after 3 working days following the date of the submission, we get documents about the company registration from the tax office, and since that date, the company is registered, and it can make contracts, open, make a stamp, and then it's possible to open bank account and start transactions. Yeah, and with regards to the registration of the rep office or the branch, as I've already mentioned, there is no share capital in rep office or branch, and funds can be just transferred by the head office for conclusion of the activities of the rep office or branch. With regards to the head of, for the LLCs, the executive body is director, managing director, or general director, and for the rep office and branches, it's the head of the rep office or the head of the branch, and actually requirements to the head office or to the head of rep office or to the head of branch are the same as for the managing directors of LLC. It means that if a foreign person is going to be appointed to that position, that person should have a work permit, and in that case, we will be able to arrange a work permit for that person only after registration of the rep office or branch, and that's why it's necessary for the first several months to register the rep office and branch with some Russian citizen as the head of the rep office or branch. With regards to the name of the company, yeah, actually, rep office or branch is not considered as a legal entity. It's just a subdivision of a foreign company. That's why it's just the name of head office plus words rep office or branch. So it can be representative office of XXX Limited. So that is the name, and also it's this special permission is required in case of use of word Russia and Russian Federation. So it's so we don't recommend to use in the name of the rep office, for example, rep office of XXX company in Russia. So it's not required. It's not possible to do so. Yeah, the next slide. With regards to the legal address, also the same requirements for the rep office and branch for the legal address of LLC. So some legal address should be arranged. It can be office of company in Russia. It can be owned premises, and also legal address service can be also used. And with regards to the business activities, as we've already mentioned, rep office can just represent the company's interest in Russia, and it's not allowed to undertake commercial activity. And for the branch office, if it's going to perform some activities which requires the license in Russia. So to be able to perform this activity, it's necessary to obtain a license before starting all that activities. And the terms of registration is, as we've already mentioned, is 30 working days, and also several days are usually required for drafting of the documents, several days for translations, signing, apostille. So usually, according to our experience, registration total term of registration of rep office or branch is from 2 to 3 months. So usually this is the whole term of registration. Yeah, and here is the main. Could it please? Yeah, previous slide. Main stage of registration of the rep office or branch. Yeah, I need to mention that registration of rep office or branch has almost the same procedure. So there is no difference in procedure. There is just differences in documents which we draft. And the main stages are as follows. So first of all, we collect all required documents and information. Then we translate them into Russian language and draft the documents required for registration, which are regulations of the rep office or branch, power of attorney for the head of the branch or rep office, resolution about opening a subsidiary in Russia. Then we send these drafted documents to the client, and these documents should be signed by the head office and again apostilled, notarized and apostilled. After that, all documents should be delivered to us. We arrange their translation and authorization of translation into the Russian language. After that, we make certification of the number of foreign employees in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which usually takes maybe 2-3 days. After that, we submit documents for the registration to the registration authority, which is Inter-District Tax Office number 47. After 30 working days following the date of submission, we collect documents from the registration authority, and then it's just necessary again to make the stamp and open the bank account and register in the non-budgetary funds. But actually, rep office is able to start its activity, I mean, to conclude agreements, for example, after the collection of documents from the registration authority. Yeah, and here is the list of documents required for the registration of the rep office or branch. It's a little big, here are a little bit more documents than for the LLC registration. And we need extract from the trade register or analog, which, as I've already said, can be certificate about incorporation, incumbency certificate, and another analog document. We need to get articles of association of a foreign company. We need certificate about tax registration in country of incorporation, which contains information about tax registration number. And we also need a copy of passport of the person who is going to be appointed to the position of the head of the branch. branch or the rep office, and guarantee letter from the landlord for the legal address if foreign company is going to rent office, or if it if it's going to rent office in Russia. And again, if foreign company prefer to use legal address service, then in that case it's not required to provide it to us. We will arrange it by ourselves. And also there are some documents which are going to be drafted by us, and then signed and notarized and apostilled by the head office, which are the written application form for the opening of the rep officer branch, resolution about opening of the rep officer branch, regulations of the rep officer branch, power of attorney for the head of the branch or representative office, and also power of attorney for us to be able to represent the company before the government authorities. Yeah, I think that's it for the revision. So now I give a word for Tatiana, and she can describe you the situation about the bank account opening.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
thank you,
turn on my
Ivan.
microphone.
Yeah, thank you. And I see some questions, but we will answer all questions at the end of our webinar. So let me continue and tell you about how to open bank account in Russia. Of course, as soon as a company has been registered, it's necessary to make activity and it's necessary to have the bank account. So on the beginning of the year in Russia, there are about 402 banks. It's really a huge amount if we compare with some other countries. And of course, the Central Bank of Russia tried to regulate, and from time to time they can revoke the license from some banks. And of course, rules of the Central Bank for the banks are stricter and stricter from year to year. And of course, they also very keen with the clients, and they are checking very carefully all information about clients. And it should be also in mind when you are going to open the bank account. We put the top banks in Russia. Of course, you can find the different information in different sources, but the most common and the most huge banks, it's like Sberbank, it's a totally government bank, and VTB Bank, Gazprom Bank, Alpha Bank, Raiffeisen Bank, Promsvязь, Открытие, Russian Agricultural Bank, Unicredit, and Rosbank. But for sure, in Russia, we have many international banks, and because mostly we are working with international clients, they prefer to open bank account in some global banks. And of course, sometimes some banks are very huge globally, but in Russia, they are not so huge. For example, if we take Unicredit, Rosbank, or Raiffeisen, in Russia, they are quite huge. But if we take like Deutsche Bank in Russia, or they have the branch and some clients open bank account there, but in Russia it's not so a big bank as in Europe, for example. And of course, some clients, they prefer to open bank account in a bank which is related to their own countries. And of course, we have in Russia like Japanese bank, like Mizuho, Bank of China, Deutsche Bank, as I mentioned, Intesa for Italian clients, and Citibank and HSBC Bank for American companies. They prefer for Citibank or HSBC. And of course, there are some standard rules for each bank, but also banks can ask clients to provide some specific documents because they want to make KYC procedure as much as proper and to check the client. So of course they can, we put some list of documents required to open the bank account, but you should know that it depends on exact bank where you want to open the bank account, because they can ask some additional information about shareholders, about business activity. Sometimes we faced, for example, when bank even ask for some investment plan and what you are going to do in Russia and what kind of activity and what is the budget for the next 3 years or something like this. So standardly, it's a company registration documents, a signature card, its application form, and tax resident identification form. And you should know that in Russia also applicable rules for FATCA and CRS, and especially for American clients, they should also put all details for this purpose as well. If a shareholder bank will need a passport copy of the managing director, and if the shareholder is a physical individual person, they will need a copy of passport for individual as well. And if a shareholder is a legal entity, international one, they will need also registration documents of the head office, registration documents of this legal entity. And as well, it will be necessary, especially to international banks, it will be necessary to provide organizational chart of the for holdings, and also information about beneficial owners. Moreover, this information about beneficial owners is updated every year, and bank will ask you to update information. Even if there is no changes, still you should provide documents. So as soon as you provide the set of documents, bank will check everything, and that's why sometimes it seems that it's very easy to open bank account, like 1-3 days, but in reality it can takes much more time. And for example, bank can open you a bank account and you already know your bank account number, all bank details, but you can't use this bank account yet until all security will be checked, and it will maybe up to 2 weeks. It can takes time. So just be in mind when you are planning your business, because in reality, it can be a little bit longer than maybe bank tell you at the very beginning. And after you open the bank account, of course, you need to organize the electronic signature for all your wire transfers. So at most all banks now, not almost, but I can say that all banks, of course, they provide the internet banking system, and of course, internet banking system depends on the bank and vary. Some banks can provide you e-token, another can provide you some digital signature and additional authorization by telephone, and still some banks can even provide you some software which you should install on your computer. And of course, it's possible, at most in all banks, it's possible to share the authorization rights. For example, as managing director, you can put authorization rights for managing director, and he can authorize these payments. But also you can make additional account for internet banking, a login and password for your financial department, for example, and they can look through the bank account, but they will not make authorization of payment, but they can check and upload the bank statements, for example. It's very convenient. Moreover, some international clients, they do like this. They have a managing director in Russia who can authorize the payment. But also they add into the bank card someone from the top management of the shareholders of the head office, because they want to be secure and put this person also into authorization card. It means that payments can be done by signature of two persons. One is a managing director and another or the manager from the head office, for example. Procedure could be vary from bank to bank, but generally you should provide information about this manager from the shareholder to confirm his authorities, and the bank will put and add him to the bank card, and this person can authorize the payments. And also important thing that as soon as you get this e-token, for example, you should make a certificate and print it out, and some banks do this procedure very easy, and you are not obliged to provide the paper hard copy to the bank. But some banks still wants to have hard copy of this electronic certificate once you generated it, and you should sign and provide it to the bank. So it also takes time. So when we are talking about opening bank account, in some cases, in some rare cases, especially when managing director is abroad, or you should add someone else also who is not in Russia, really it can take like up to 1 or 2 months, even in some rare cases. But more optimistic scenario for opening bank account, it's like we can say it's like 2 weeks. And another story and another concerns of international clients is currency control. Sometimes clients think that it's very difficult to transfer money from and into Russia. But in reality, everything is not so dangerous, and everything is quite clear. Just you need to understand the rules. So in Russia, we have the currency control rules for each bank. There are no any exceptions. The only one exceptions when you are representative office or branch of foreign company. In this case, you are not a resident of Russia in terms of currency control. In this case, you are not provide any documents to the bank when you make a transfer from Russia to Russia. It's not a problem. You can directly send funds from head office to the branch, from head office to rep office, and vice versa. And there are no any obstacles because you are non-resident. But if we are talking about limited liability company, you are a resident of Russia, and you should be in compliance with currency control rules. So if you have transactions exceeding 200,000 rubles in an equivalent, you should provide an equivalent in any other currency. You should provide documents to the currency control department of the bank, like invoice, contract, and some other documents, and some special certificate. When I tell certificate, it's special form of the bank about currency control. It's possible everything to do electronically in the internet banking. And also one important thing, when you have your contract, for example, service contract or delivery contract or loan for import more than 3 million rubles, not less than 3 million rubles, let's tell like this, and you have for export contract more than not less than 6 million rubles. It means, in addition, that you should register your contract in the bank. It's obligatory to do, and if you will not do it, it will be very high fines. So it's very important to do everything in term. The same for the rest documents like invoices and other things, and custom declarations, for example, when you import goods. So this one also should be in mind. And just a short example, when company just registered and start in Russia, head office sent funds to this company. When we are talking about charter capital, you not need to provide any extra documents because bank can see in the your registration documents the amount of your charter capital. And when a head office send you a charter capital, it's fine. There is no any currency control. But if head office send you a loan for your future activity, you should also consider the amount of this loan. And also very important that once the head office send you rubles, this amount could be more than, for example, 3 million rubles. But bank will not block your amount, and you can use these funds and everything will be okay. But if you will not provide these documents in the future, maybe 1-2 years later, it can be checked by tax authorities, because bank and tax authorities connect to audit. Tax authority, when they want to make an audit for currency control, they ask all information from the bank, not from you. And in this case, bank, of course, provide this information that you had international transactions, but you haven't provided any documents. That's why it's very important, because when you send currency, no any chance to escape providing documents, because currency will arrive on your transit bank account. And when you have currency on transit bank account, you can't use it until you provide all documents to the bank. After you provide, amount will be released, and this amount will go to your current currency account, and you can sell it to rubles, for example. But in case of rubles, it's fine. So sometimes people do mistake and they do not check the amount of this currency or amount of this agreement, sorry. So again, I need to stress that there are no any obstacles to send money to the bank and from the bank. Also, only one very important thing, to have all documents in proper way, and to have all at least scan of these documents signed and stamped by parties of this contract. So let me tell you now about the tax system, because it's also important. When you start the business, you should check the tax system, because in Russia it's possible to check which kind of tax system you will use, but not, of course, for all companies. Unfortunately, for international clients, not very often simplified tax system can be used, but I will explain you in which cases we still can use it, fortunately. And we have the standard tax system. The main taxes in the standard tax system is VAT. It's 20% in Russia, and 10% for certain goods like food or medicine. The list is very huge. We do not put it here, and this is not a topic of our webinar, actually. So the corporate profit tax is 20%, and property tax, if any, because it's not applicable for everyone, it's 2.2%, and can be vary from regions of Russia. And we have simplified tax system. And simplified tax system, when you use it, you pay only one unified tax instead of VAT and instead of corporate profit tax. And simplified tax system divided into two categories. One is 6% on revenue, when you pay 6% on all revenue arrived on your account. And another is 15% from profit. So revenue minus your expenses, and you pay 15%. So it's very convenient. And also simplified tax system is based on cash method, not like accruals like for standard system, but cash. So everything you pay in and pay out, you can calculate for your tax. And of course, not all companies can apply for simplified tax system. So if you have less than 20% share capital owned by the other legal entity, you can do it. And some international clients, there's 100% owned by legal entity, by head office. In this case, of course, no any chance to use the simplified tax system. But sometimes when clients set up the company, they have shareholders in foreign individuals. In this case, it's possible to use simplified tax system and save your taxes. Also, there are limits for income. So to use simplified tax system, your income can't be more than 150 million rubles per year. And starting new year, this limit will be increased. It will be 200 million, but with some exceptions, like you will pay from the difference between 200 and 150 million rubles. You will pay from these 50 million rubles more tax, 20% instead of 15% and 8% instead of 6% accordingly. Also, the number of your employees can't be more than 100. Otherwise, you will use standard tax system. And again, starting new year, this limit will be increased and it will be 130 employees. Also, in order to use a simplified tax system, legal entity should not have any branches. It's possible to have division. This is separate division. This is special form, or when, for example, you have company in Moscow and you have a couple of employees in St. Petersburg. In this case, and you don't have any separate bank account there, you don't have any separate managing director or any separate structure. So in this case, you just have this division of your company in Moscow, in St. Petersburg. In this case, you still can use simplified tax system. And also, it's not possible to use a simplified tax system for certain professional groups of companies. They may not apply the simplified system, like gambling or mainly some financial service providers. So unfortunately, they can't use a simplified tax system and only ordinary, only standard tax system. So simplified tax system can be really a good choice for those who owned by company like a foreign individual, for example. In this case, it's really good chance to save your money on taxes. And also, it will be much more simple to make accounting, for example, for simplified tax system. So next is compliance with Russian law. Very, very important, which every time we want to stress to our clients, that as soon as you start, as soon as you registered the company and it's already in the trade register of companies, you should provide all reports in accordance with Russian legislation, without any exceptions, regardless you have no employees, regardless you have only managing director and you don't pay him salary, regardless you don't have any bank account, you don't have any bank activity yet, still you should have to provide reports to the authorities. And in Russia we have many of them, and most of reports are on quarterly basis, But for example, we have one report which is obligatory for all companies. It's a CSVM form which is provided to pension fund on monthly basis every month until the 15th of next month. And moreover, we have another report. It's HR report. It's related to payroll, but more it's related to HR. And it says that their form. You should provide this form on the next day as soon as you hire or dismiss any employee. So on practice, when you register the company, as soon as you have the managing director, actually you should next day you should make CSVT day report. We understand that on practice it's very difficult to do, and if we are talking about managing director, it will be very difficult to avoid fines, because really on practice it's even not possible technically to provide this report. But we will see, maybe next year will be some changes, because this year this form CSVT is submitted without any fines. So even you provide it later, it's okay. But next year, starting new year, there will be fines for this form, like 500 rubles, not too much. But of course, if you have many employees and every time you miss this term, it will be a not very pleasant situation. So for payroll, also we have reports about calculation of obligatory insurance contributions, reports to pension fund, reports to social insurance fund. Well, I will not detailed in terms, because you will have tables and you can see all details for your convenience. And about tax returns, the main one are VAT, of course, it's every quarter, and payments also every quarter, 25th of each month following the quarter, and the corporate profit tax also quarterly. But in some cases, it's possible to make corporate profit tax return on monthly basis. But not many companies use this, because sometimes it's very difficult to make records every month and collect all documents in proper way and submit corporate profit tax monthly. So most of companies prefer to provide corporate profit tax submitted quarterly. So property tax, again, if you don't have anything taxable for property tax, you do not provide this tax return, no need. And unified tax return, it's annual one. Again, it's very good advantage, because you will submit a tax return only once per year. And financial statements. Financial statements are submitted once per year. Again, it's balance sheet, P&L, cash flow, capital gains, and some explanatory notes about your business activity. And actually, this is the reason that many international clients, they want, because one time per year it's not enough, and they want to have some internal reports like balance sheet and P&L at least on monthly basis, in order to have all figures, because one time per year actually not enough for them. So if we are talking about tax compliance, so it's important to provide all tax returns in turn, and do not forget that even you don't have any activity, still you should to do this. So the next one is migration rules for foreign employees. So I'd like Ivan to join, but I can't. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. We lose connection with him, and just let me check. Let me add him. I'm sorry. 1 second. Okay. So I add Ivan. Okay, he is joining. And we maybe it will take maybe 10-15 minutes, and we about migration rules, and we come back to your questions. So Ivan is joining. Okay, Ivan, hi again.
Yes, I'm here again.
Yeah, okay, great. Please go ahead
Yes.
with migration rules. Okay, I mute my microphone then.
Yes, thank you. So as I've already said, as soon as foreign citizen is going to be appointed to the position of the general director, or even if some another foreign employee is going to be employed by a Russian company, it's necessary to arrange a work permit for such employee and for such director. And actually, director of the company considered as its employee. That's why it's necessary to get his work permit, even if he is not going to get some salary. But according to Russian labor legislation, he is considered as employee of the company as soon as he appointed to the position of the director. And in Russia, there are two options for work permit arrangements. You can see them on the slide. This is a standard work permit and so-called highly qualified specialist work permit. And here are the main differences between these two types of work permits. As you can see, the standard work permit is issued for just 1 year, and highly qualified specialist work permit is issued for the 3 years, and it's possible to arrange 3 years multiple working visa. In that case, if a person gets a highly qualified specialist work permit, and for the standard work permit, it's just 1 year working visa, and it should be renewed after ending of the year. And the most the main distinctive feature of highly qualified specialist work visa is work permit is the limit of salary of the employee. So it should be not less than 2 million rubles per year, its gross amount, and for your convenience, maybe it's about 167,000 rubles. It's about 2,000 euro per year or per month, and it should be paid to the employee. And Russian authorities requires submission of a special report for that highly qualified specialists salaries, and this report should be submitted every quarter. It's report about the amount of salary paid to the highly qualified specialists, and according to that report, his or her salary should be not less than 167,000 rubles per month. And with regards to the standard work permit, it's necessary to get so-called, here it's written Russian language test. It's test about knowledge of Russian legislation and Russian language. For the highly qualified work permit, it's not required to pass this exam, and for the standard work permit, it's necessary to come to Russia and to pass this exam. We can assist in that exam, but for you, it's for the person which applies for the standard work permit, it's absolutely necessary to come to Russia to pass this exam, even if we will assist. But for the standard work permit, there are no requirements for the salary, so it can be as small amount as you wish, for example, 1,000 ruble, and there is no any requirements or limits. Here is written about quotas. It means that for some specialists, there are strict amount of specialists, foreign specialists, which can be employed by Russian company a year. For example, I don't know. For example, engineers. I can't say you just right now this amount, but let's say one or maybe 10,000 foreign engineers can be employed by all Russian companies in some exact year, and there are also some professions without quota. For example, general director of the company, it's a profession without quota, so there can be any amount of general directors. But anyway, for the standard work permit, it's quoted work permit, and limited number of standard work permits for some professions can be issued in Russia, and for the highly qualified specialists there is no any quotas, so you can hire any amount of foreign specialists for any positions in the company. And with regards to the taxation, for the highly qualified specialists, personal income tax is 13% from the first day of their work in Russia, and even if they stay in Russia less than 180 days, which means that they are not Russian tax residents, their personal income tax rate is 13% in that case, and for the standard work permit, tax rate is 30% if a person stays in Russia for less than 183 days, which means that that person is not Russian tax resident, and it's also necessary to pay social contributions for that person. So in that case, for the employees who has standard work permit, taxation is taxes are much more than for the highly qualified highly qualified specialists. So most of our clients choose the second options because in that case their specialist takes salary, and taxes are quite small in that case, and they get work visa for 3 years. Yeah, that's it. There are just
Okay,
the main differences between these two
thank you.
types.
Thank you, Ivan. And also, I add about the highly qualified specialist once more that really it's for foreign employee, it's real tax heaven, I can tell you, because really it's only 13%. And in addition, it's there is no any social contributions. And only one payment is paid by employer is social insurance contribution on production injuries. It's generally it's 0.2%. So it's very convenient, and anyway, if for example, when in foreign shareholder as the individual set the company and owned by this company, it's not a bad idea when he will be the employee in his company and get the highly qualified specialist work permit, a visa for 3 years, and pay he will not pay too much taxes, only 13% of personal income tax and no social insurance contributions at all. So I see some questions, and Ivan, most of questions for you, and let me read them, and I think you can answer. So one is to Helena, and she's asking, how can I open company if I can't come to Russia yet? Are there any distance options? Ivan, can you answer? Ivan, you there? I think some troubles with connections.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, the question.
Yes,
Shall
it's
I
possible
shall I
to.
repeat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you hear me? Yes, sure.
No. Shall I repeat the question,
Do you
or
hear me?
you hear? Yeah, we can hear you.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Hello. Hello. Do you hear me now? Fine.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, something wrong with connection, but okay, let me answer on this question then. So, yes, it's possible to do, but you should make all notarization abroad. It
Yes.
depends which country you are. It's fine, you can.
So, let me just answer the question because I suppose there is some luck. Yes, it's possible to open yes, it's possible to open company in Russia without physical presence in Russia, and in that case, as I've mentioned, it's just necessary to sign the application form.
Okay, sorry.
For the foreign company should of the Russian company should sign the application form for registration.
Okay, yes, really sorry. It's something wrong with Ivan's connection now, but
Abroad and notarize it.
sorry, I mute the microphone because we can't hear anything. Okay, sorry, let me, I remove Ivan, sorry, because, sorry, Ivan, but it's something really, really strange with his connection. I will try later to add him, but let me repeat what Ivan said. that, of course, it's possible to open, but the only one disadvantage is you need to notarize all documents abroad and send to us in Russia. And here we should make all translation and notary copies of this document, notary translation. And after that, it's possible to register the company. Also, coming back to work permit, I'd like to stress that if we are talking about, let's say, foreign managing director, it's also possible, regardless the situation with all this coronavirus situation, it's possible to still apply now for work permit, but the only thing that it's a little bit more longer, because generally, for example, when you apply for highly qualified specialist work permit, but today, on today in Russia, it's only possible to apply for highly qualified specialist work permit, not for standard, because standard is temporarily stopped. But for highly qualified specialists, it's possible to apply. And before it was like 15 working days, but now it will take more time, up to 2 and 3 months, because before to apply for highly qualified specialist work permit, you need to apply for special permit from ministry, for example, Ministry of Economy or Ministry of Construction. It depends on your company business activity. But still, it's possible to do now if you need application of highly qualified specialist work permit. You can ask and we can explain all details how to do it in these not very easy conditions in Russia now. And questions. Do you offer managing director service for at least 4 months before clients find their own managing director? Yes, sure. Yes, we provide this service, and it's quite common and quite often situation, because clients, when they want to appoint a foreign managing director, they ask us to be a local one for the temporary period, and then we help to organize a work permit, and after then change the managing director. So yes, it's possible to do. And another question from Sarah: what could happen to the entity if company can't open the bank account or remit registered capital after 4 months of registration? Yes, it's obligatory to put your registered capital within 4 months, and it's obligatory by law. But I should confess that on practice, we faced with situation when clients didn't do this by different reasons. Sometimes they just forget to do it, or for example, they put only part and forget to put the rest. But on practice, we never faced to any fines from authorities. So it's very important that registered capital should be paid by a shareholder, but for now, no any sanction. The only thing, for example, when you have the audit, auditors will ask the information about paid capital. So if you haven't paid this capital yet, so probably, not probably, but for 100%, you can't get the audit report, because they will not accept it, and you should, of course, have paid registered capital. But normally it can't take more than 4 months to open the bank account, so I think it should be fine in your case. So I think this is all questions for now. And of course, we will send you all information later, and I hope the video, because actually this is first time we use especially this software for this application for webinars, and I hope that video will be sent to you as well. From our side, it's that's all for today. and we will develop, and we will continue, and next year we are going to have some more webinars about different topics, so which is very interesting for our international clients and potential clients as well. So we will be glad for any feedback from your side, what can we improve and whatever. So I'd like to thank you, all of you, for participation. I'd like to thank Ivan for participation from our team, and you have all contact details at the end of the presentation, and you can apply to us when you have any questions and maybe you need some advice. We are ready to help. We are ready to help. So again, thank you so much for your attention, and have a lovely day and lovely weekend, and goodbye for now. Bye bye.